Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is time for Single Malt Sunday. Hopefully you can see this all right, and I didn't cut off the bottom of the can. I hope. Man, it can be hard to film by yourself some days, especially if you hit the wrong button and you end up just taking a picture and not actually recording. That didn't happen, I don't think. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, today's whiskey, the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie. I just had to say it like that. This is interesting because it comes in a metal can, and usually they're cardboard, if anything at all. So that's interesting. The color is interesting, isn't it? Oh, geez, it really gets stuck in there. Holy cow. Anyway. So, it is an interesting bottle. It feels ceramic. I think they just paint it, to be honest. Anyway, I'm not going to read all this kinds of stuff written on it. So this is an Islay whiskey. I don't know if you heard that or not. But what's interesting about this one, it is not peated. Non-peated. Where should I put this bottle, huh? Here. This is getting out of hand. Hopefully that's still in the camera frame and you can see it if you want to. All right. So, Islay Scotch. Usually Islay is a super smoky, peated whiskey. This is not. It checks a lot of boxes for people, though, as far as whiskey kind of sewers, right? It's 50% ABV. That checks a box. It's not, a lot of times you get them that are like 40, sometimes down to 40%, right? That's the lowest you can go, or you're, legally for Scotch. There's no age statements. We don't know how long this has been aged. I would call this a budget Scotch. It's relatively inexpensive. Well, when I bought it, I don't know what the current prices are, but it was anyway. Non-chill filtered. That checks a box for a lot of people. No coloring added, right? That checks another box for a lot of people. So it's already on paper doing everything it should do for whiskey connoisseurs that are into this sort of thing. So, right. So and you can tell it's probably not colored, or there's no coloring because it's quite light color. The color is quite light compared to some. It's not been aged in any kind of extra casks. Strictly oak. It's got a lot of grain on the nose, which is something I couldn't actually pick up for a long time when I first started, drinking whiskey. I would not have known, but this far into it, I can smell the grain. It's kind of a dusty, like not musty, but dusty kind of smell to it. Not much else going on. I mean, it's just the typical like floral, botanical kind of smelling, very light. Woo. I haven't had a 50% for a while. Pretty smooth for 50%. Got a pretty long finish. I like that. There's lots of oils. Like you probably can't see on camera, but the oils are just kind of clinging to the glass and draining down. That's kind of cool. There's definitely, on the finish especially, there's a lot of honey. I think you get some sweetness. It's mostly sweet honey. And for me, it's kind of floral. Not a lot of baking spice. Maybe a little baking spice on the back end. Cloves, cinnamon. And now that I had that first sip, I'm getting so much more honey on the nose. It's really in-your-face honey. I mean, if you like a straight-up Scotch that's not been finished in anything, it really is just getting the impact from the barrel and nothing else. The original oak barrel, nothing else. This is your game here. This is your guy. I'm putting a little water. It is 50%. It might open it up. It might not. Almost lost a lot of the honey by adding water, which is a shame. And it's making my nose burn because it's much more astringent now. Yeah, it didn't help the nose at all, that's for sure. No. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not terrible with the water, but it completely loses a lot of the sweetness and the honey that you get. I would leave it at 50% for me. Obviously, everybody has a different palate, but for me, anyway. Yeah, and then I guess all else I could tell you about this is these guys. I'm not sure who owns them, if they're owned by anybody. You know how a lot of times big time whiskey companies are bought out, you know, by the big guys. The reason I say that is because they have more than one line of whiskey. Maybe no one knows them. I don't know. It's just Bruichladdich, but that's their like non-peated line. They do have some peated lines, right? They also make the Port Charlotte whiskey and the Octomore. I do have the Port Charlotte, and I think I've already tried that on here with you guys. I don't have an Octomore, and I would love to have one. I would, but they are very expensive and just not in my budget, you know. Maybe someday, something special. I don't know, but yeah, they're pretty expensive. At any rate, if you want like to know what a straight up Scotch tastes like with no extra, you know, barrels making any difference, no, nothing like that. Just what does it taste like aged in just oak? This, I think, is a great example of a classic Scotch. At any rate, I like it. I would say if you like that sort of thing and you just like a kind of traditional light Scotch, this is the one to get, or one of them. So anyway, I'll be back next week for another whiskey to try. And until then, sláinte.